we are getting ready to turn into the final bend of our unit, and we're going to be spending a lot of time during the next 3 weeks working on writing an essay that compares and contrasts two pieces of text that have a similar theme. So we're going to look at two stories that have a theme that they have in common, what they share, and we're going to notice how the author was able to develop that theme so we hear the message. How did they develop it? How did they develop it? What did they use? Okay, so maybe both of them used characters, but their characters were different. So using characters to develop a theme might be a similarity between two texts. And then the types of characters and what the characters did or what the characters learned might have been different. Now, in order to get to that spot, in order to get there and be able to do this, we almost have to train our brain to think differently. And because this is such a difficult kind of thought process, we're actually going to start by looking at things that we are very familiar with. All right, so today we're going to start by comparing apples and oranges. Now, we know that apples and oranges are both fruits. Okay? They have some things in common, but they're also very different. All right. Let's start out, look down at your paper. What is a good graphic organizer to use when you are comparing and contrasting two things? What is a good graphic organizer to use when you're doing that? Donovan? The Venn diagram. Okay, so go ahead and look at your paper where you've put your date. And I'm going to ask you to turn it to landscape. So just turn it to landscape. So you have your date and you're turning it to landscape. That will give you enough of an area to go ahead and to draw your Venn diagram. Now remember, in the Venn diagram, the information that goes in where the two circles overlap are the things that are the same, something that they share. And when we're talking about apples and oranges, we're talking about the traits that they share, what they look like, what they contain. So the next step would be to write apples, oranges. So this circle is going to have the information about the apples, and this circle is going to have the information about the oranges. All right, what I'd like you to do now is I'd like you to go ahead and turn and talk. Everybody's familiar with apples and oranges. What are some of the features that apples and oranges share? See how many you can come up with and jot them down in your notebook. Okay, so what do you have?
That's not like they both have seeds. Okay, which one is it? They both have some of them. Like a big thing. They both have seeds. Okay, actually, they're both fruit. They grow trees. They're like lemon seeds. So basically,
Okay, I'm hearing lots of great conversations. Let's see. Give me one thing that they have that is in common. One thing that you have written down. Levi? Well, that is more like the category that they are. So that would be more of that would be like the title. All right, we're comparing two fruits. Okay, all right. And the other test you want to make is can you come up with like 3 differences? Can you come up with 3 ways that they're different? All right, so that's kind of like the test. All right, so Linda, what's something that you and Caroline came up with? They both have seeds. All right, so let's put seeds here. So when you're comparing and contrasting, your main idea sentence would be, both apples and oranges have seeds, and then you would talk about the ways that they're different. So stop for a minute, turn and talk with your partner. Come up with 3 ways that the seeds in apples and oranges are different, and jot them on your Venn diagram. Okay, so instead of just putting size, tell me about the size. How is the size, what is the difference between the size of apple seeds and the orange seeds? Guys, be specific. These need to be details. Don't just put size, color, shape. Okay, so what's one way that orange seeds are different from apple seeds? What's one way that they're different? Paige?
Apple seeds are usually like white and orange seeds are usually black.
Other way around. Other way around. Okay, so yes. So Connor was right in color and size, but we need to be specific, Connor, okay? So apple seeds are usually a dark brown color, while orange seeds are white or whitish, almost like a beigey color, okay? They look whitish, all right? All right, what's another way that apple seeds and orange seeds are different?
Apple seeds are usually found towards the middle of the apple.
Okay, so we usually, if you're looking for apple seeds, which is why, like, not a lot of us know what an apple seed looks like, it's in the middle of the apple. Not only is it in the middle of the apple, but it's got this hard, like it's kind of got a hard pocket or cavity in the middle where the seeds are. And that doesn't feel good in our mouth, so we typically don't eat that part. So we avoid that cavity. We just eat the flesh of the apple. So the seeds of an apple are in the middle, surrounded by a hard cavity, or a hard, it's almost like a little encasing. Okay. All right. What about the seeds of oranges?
They're usually found in some of the slices.
Right. So the orange seeds are found in the individual sections. I know it's hard. These days, most people eat seedless oranges, but if you have an orange tree in your yard, you most likely will see those seeds found in each individual section. Okay, give me another way that they're different. Fiona?
Apple seeds are usually big and then orange seeds are usually little.
Actually, it depends on the size of the fruit. Generally speaking, unless you're talking about a tiny mandarin orange, the seeds of the orange are larger. Okay? So we can say smaller and larger. Okay? So if we were trying to write this, and if we were writing it using the structure of comparing and contrast, we might say both apples and oranges have seeds. Apple seeds are dark brown, while orange seeds are whitish in color. They are also different because the seeds are found in the middle of an apple surrounded by a hard cavity. On the other hand, orange seeds can be found floating in each of the individual sections of the orange. Typically, orange seeds are larger than apple seeds. So did you hear all of those compare and contrast words? The both, the difference, in contrast. This is where your knowledge of text structure comes in. Because when you're writing a compare and contrast essay, you need to be using that text structure. You need to be writing compare and contrast. Okay, who has a different way that something that we can put here in the middle that both apples and oranges share? What's something that they share? Logan?
They both grow on trees.
Okay, do you know enough about the trees to be able to tell me how the trees are different? Can you come up with 3 ways that the trees are different? I can't either. And I think that's what we want to keep in mind. And the reason why we do that, Donovan, is if we think about this as our main idea sentence, I'm sorry, Logan. If we think about this as our main idea sentence right here, both apples and oranges have seeds. When we're making a plan, how many pieces of evidence do we have to have? 3. Okay, so that's why we want to make sure we're testing it to find something that's similar. Okay, something else. Eli?
They both have pores.
What do you mean by a core?
Like something in the middle that contains seeds.
But an orange doesn't have something in the middle that contains seeds. So an orange has sections, and using your definition, which I agree with, you would say that oranges do not have a core.
Well, I mean like something in the middle that you want to eat around.
But you typically eat the middle of the orange because that's where the sections come together. Mm-hmm. Anybody else come up with some other way? Say it again. Both juicy. Can you come up with 3 ways that they're different in their juiciness?
Oranges are more like explosive, juicy, and apples are more like juicy.
Okay, so that's only one.
Apples have less juice.
His what?
For example, when you buy an orange, all of the juice, for example, when you buy an apple, it doesn't really come out.
Okay, but that's still one, right? So that's the test, okay? Because we want to make sure that we're going to have lots and lots of detail. I thought I heard somebody say this earlier. Anybody have something different? Preston? Say it again. No, but we're not talking about the word. We're talking about, if I was writing an essay about how they both have seeds and then they're different in three ways, and then I talked about the word, and I said apples and oranges, they both have a word, and what is it you said to me, that there's a rhyme for apples and a rhyme but not a rhyme for oranges? That may be true and it may be interesting, but does it line up with the rest of the structure, right? Okay, so we want to make sure that we're keeping that page. Okay, well, you can say that they're both spherical, but can you come up with three ways their shape is different? Okay, so that is the test. That is the test. Think about what you know. Picture it in your mind. Riley? Can you come up with three different ways they're both natural? Okay, so what you're getting down to something that is a little bit too narrow. Okay, maybe absolutely true about these two fruits, but it's not something that we can write about in a body paragraph. Yes.
Their size.
Well, they're both about the same size. Okay. Wow. I thought you guys were going to be so much better than the other class. Fiona?
Taste.
Taste. Can you come up with three ways that they're different in their taste? So that's the test, right? So when you go to put something down in the middle, you ask yourself, can I come up with three different ways that they're different? Notice we had three different ways that the seeds were different. Size, color, where they're located in the fruit. Claire? Can you come up with three ways that the texture is different? What part are you talking about when you're talking about texture? Which is called what? Do they both have a skin? Skin or rind is considered the outside covering. Do they both have an outside covering? Okay, so let's put that down. Because apples and oranges both have a skin or a rind or an outside covering. So let's go ahead, now that we know, we can say both apples and oranges have an outside covering. Joshua, are you writing this down? You're going to need it. How is the skin or the rind different? Let's see how many ways we can come up with. Levi? So tell me which one is smooth. Apples have a smoother skin, and oranges are, what did you say? Bumpy or rough, right? Bumpy or rougher, because I want to get those compare-contrast words. What's another way? Eli?
One is red, one is orange.
Well, apples come in a variety of colors. Apples can be red, they can be green, they can be a combination of red and green, they can be golden.
Apples can be red, green, or golden.
Okay, so let's say the skin on an apple can be red, green, golden, and then like Macintosh apples are like a combination of red and gold. They can also be yellow, I think, although I tend to think that that's the same word as golden. Okay, and then we can say that the skin of an orange is orange, which is where it gets its name. Okay, so we have the outside, how it feels, right? The texture of it, that smoother and rougher. And now we have the color. All right, give me another one, Isabella.
We could eat the apple's skin, but we may not eat the oranges.
We eat the apple skin in most cases.
Or we could put
Yes, we could put edible. But when I finish saying what I want to say about the orange skin, you might not. But we typically remove the orange skin or the rind. Now, if any of you are cooks like I am, we do sometimes use the outside skin of an orange in cooking. We don't eat it the way it is, but we can take a small grater to it and take off the outside, what they call the zest of an orange, and it brings some color and it brings some flavor to what you're cooking. So, but typically, if you have an orange in your lunch, okay, you're not going to do the zest on your sandwich, okay? So typically, we do remove it. Now, think about removing that skin. How is our apples and oranges different when we talk about removing the skin? Nick?
Orange skin is much thicker than apple skin.
Okay, what you're saying is true, but you didn't hear my question. Okay, so he said that orange skin is thick. But my question was, think about envision yourself removing the skin of an orange, and envision yourself removing the skin of an apple. Caroline? Right, so you use your fingers, you can use your fingers to remove the skin of an orange. But when you are trying to remove the skin of an apple, it's not easy to remove with your fingers. In most cases, you need to have a peeler or you need to have a paring knife, something like that. So you need a tool to remove it. Okay, so can you see all the differences that we came up with? So first we noticed what they shared in common. Okay, first we noticed what they share in common, and then we looked at those two things and we noticed how they were very different. All right, and we wanted to make sure, Riley, go ahead and put those pencils down. We're not building a pencil tower right now. We want to notice how they are different so that when we're writing our paragraph, our main idea sentences, both apples and oranges have skin, and then we're going to talk about how the skin of apples and the skin of oranges are different. Okay, so now we're going to move into our independent work because I want to give you some more practice with this type of thing. What I have and what I'm going to be coming around with are envelopes with categories on them. So just like our apples and oranges were in the category of fruit, inside each of these envelopes is a piece of paper that has two types of whatever the category is. Okay, so eyes on the screen for a second so that you can see this. Obviously, I have another envelope with two different types of fruits that you can compare and contrast. Two different types of art. Two different types of music or musical instruments. It could be that too. Inside this envelope are the names of two superheroes. This is movement, how you move. Literature is going to be like genre of writing. Two different types of food. Two different types of transportation. Two different types of weather. Two different types of apparel. And apparel means clothing. or something that you wear on your body. That's what apparel is. 2 different sports, and then 2 different landmarks. Now, a landmark is a monument. Could you stop kicking, please? Feet on the floor. Thank you. Landmarks are like well-known monuments or places. All right. When I come to you, I'm going to give you the choice of 2 different categories, and you're going to pick. Now, while you're waiting for me, go ahead. Oh, stop, freeze. You're working with a partner. Still. You and your partner are going to get an envelope to share. Only one of you may touch the envelope. Only one of you may touch the paper. Okay, stop because you're chatting and you're not listening to my directions and you won't know what to do. Only one person can touch the paper. Please don't write on the paper. Please don't pass it back and forth between you. Remember, your mask is on, your shield. And I'm just going to come up and give you 2 choices, and you're going to choose one of the 2 that I give you. While you're waiting, please go ahead and flip to the next available page and go ahead and create a new Venn diagram. Okay. Landmarks or sports? Apparel or weather? Put the pencils down. You may have 1 pencil in your hand.